So, in the previous lesson, we managed to make Three.js work. We imported it in a very specific ways, and it seems to be working. All right, it's kind of the easiest way to import Three.js, but unfortunately, it has two main limitations. It has also other limitations, but here are the two main limitations. The first limitation is that we have access to only core classes. There is I don't know, dozens, maybe hundreds of classes. So we can do a lot. As you can see, we managed to create like an object, things like that, and we can do a lot more, but we don't have access to every Three.js classes. One example is the orbit controls, and we are going to need this one shortly, and we need to have access to this one. Okay, that's the first limitation. Let's keep that in mind. The second limitation is that when we open a HTML file by just double clicking on it and it just opens inside your browser won't let the JavaScript execute any instructions for security reasons. And that's a good thing because you don't want a HTML file to execute JavaScript that will mess up with your files. You don't want it to be able to check your files, folders on top of it and send those data to whatever server. You don't want that. And your browser will prevent that. If you just double click on the HTML file, your browser will be very limited on what can happen, which is great. But still, it's going to be an issue at some point. When we are going to load textures, models, and things like that, well, it's not going to work. So we need a solution. We need to run a local server. That's the name of the lesson. The simplest solution is to use a build tool or a bundler. Today we talk about build tool, but a few years ago it was more about bundling bundlers. There are other solutions to run a server, but this one will be perfect for the course. So we need to know what build tool to use. Let's see the states of today's build tools. There are many build tools, and maybe you have heard of Webpack, Vite, Gurp, Parcel, etc. If you haven't heard of those, don't worry, I will just set you up on the right path. And each one has pros and cons. Some features are in this one, not this one. Some are faster, some are slower, some are more secured or whatever, better developer experience. Well, we need to choose one. The most popular build tool today is Webpack. It's the most popular. It's widely used, there is a great community, and you can do a lot of things with it. But it's not the most appreciated today. The most appreciated build tool today is Vite. I know it's a bit weird we pronounced that Vite. The word is Vite. It's fast, quick in French, so it's Vite. A bit weird, but why not? It's faster to install than Webpack. It's faster to run. It's less prone to bugs, and it has a better developer experience. So we need to use Vite, okay? By the way, very important thing I need to explain right now. Three.js journey was written and recorded using Webpack. All right, initially Three.js journey was running on Webpack. All the lessons, all the exercises have been done with Webpack. Do not worry, the Vite configuration, so the configuration right now using Vite, and the behavior are very similar to the Webpack configuration. So you can just follow the lessons, it will be fine. You will see in the videos that I'm using a different tool, but I just put some warning here and there, and the rest is just the same. So you will be fine. You will be using Vite. This is not a lesson about Vite. Still, I cannot help myself but to explain a few things. So Vite is a build tool, okay. The idea is that we are going to write web code. By that I mean HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right? Traditional web code. And Vite will build the final website using those things. It will do a bunch of other things like optimizations. It will add support to other languages. We're going to need that. It will do some cache breaking. You know, when you change the website and the user are like, no, I don't see the changes. They need to empty the cache. Well, Vite will take care of that. It will break the cache automatically. It will add source mapping. It will run a local server. We need this one, etc., etc. So it will do a bunch of things. Vite handles most basic needs. Just like that, when we install Vite, we can do a lot of things, okay? But we can also add plugins whenever we need those. And we're going to need 2 plugins later in the course, okay? Don't worry, we don't care about that right now, but at some point we're going to add 2 plugins. You will see when we get there. By the way, Vite was created by Evan You, and Evan You is the creator of Vue.js. Maybe we say Vue.js, Vue.js, I'm not sure. And Vite is highly maintained by hundreds of developers, and it's just a great tool. I've been using Vite for quite a long time, and I really love it. Much better than Webpack. I mean, better than Webpack. So how to use the template? Yes, by the way, there is a template provided with the lesson. So what you see here is the previous lessons. You will see, well, the local server lesson. Right there will be a starter button. So download the starter. I already have it over there, and you will get something like this. The name will probably be different, but anyway, you get a zip file. I'm going to show you how to use that starter, because most of the following lessons have a starter too. So you need to be able to run this thing. Don't worry, it's not that complicated. And if you are used to let's say, how we develop websites today, you will be fine. It's okay. Still, I want to make sure that even beginners can handle this one. By the way, if you are having any kind of issue, there is a section right after this one where I will go through like classic troubleshootings. All right. So if you have a problem, don't stress. Maybe continue and check the next lessons and the next section, and I will explain like traditional troubleshooting. If you still can't make it work, even after checking the troubleshooting section, as a member of Three.js Journey, you get access to a private Discord server. So it's on the top right corner of this very page you are seeing right now. There is a Discord button. If you subscribe to Three.js Journey, you will be able to join the private Discord server. So it's the one on the right. I can actually show you. It's this one here, the private server. So click on this, you will get a pop-in, and you will be able to join the Three.js Journey Discord server. Right now, I'm not logged in, so that's why it's not working. Am I not logging? That's well. So if you need help, just go there. We will help you make sure it works for you. So first thing, we want to use Vite. Okay, but we need Node.js. So we need to install Node.js. What is Node.js? It enables running JavaScript on your computer, but outside of a browser, okay? Because this is like a website, it's running JavaScript. Okay, we know that, JavaScript for the web. But with Node.js, we can use JavaScript to do a lot of other things, like running build tools. Like Webpack is running on Node.js, Vite is running on Node.js, and there are today like hundreds of thousands of things running using Node.js. But we need to install Node.js on the computer. It has been around for many years. It's very popular. It's installed on most developers' computers, especially web developers' computers. So if you don't know if Node.js is already installed or which version is installed, because the version is also important, you have to open your terminal, or you might use different solutions than the terminal. If you're on Windows, you can use the command prompt or whatever you like to use. If you don't know what's that, well, it's just something, you run some instructions for the computers and it returns something, okay? You will just open your terminal or command prompt on Windows and write node-v. Be careful with the spaces, dashes, you have to write it exactly like that. If you press enter, it will tell you what version of Node.js you have on your computer. Me, I already have Node.js installed. I get the v18.13.0. Okay, that's great. I have a good version. But if you get something like not recognize command or instruction, it means you don't have Node.js. So you will have to install it. We're going to see that right after. Okay, Vite currently works with version 14, but my recommendation is to install the latest LTS version, okay? The long-term support version, which these days is 18. Everything we will do next is supposed to work with the 16, but still my recommendation is update Node.js to the latest LTS version. So let's do that together. First, you need to go on the Node.js website and download this one here, okay? You download this, it's an installer, you can just follow the instructions. It's gonna work on Windows, on Mac, there is no issue with that, and you just continue. I'm not gonna do it, check the options, but the default options are just fine. I'm not gonna do it because I already have this exact version installed on my computer. And as you can see, there is something else that will be installed and you need that. It's npm. We are going to talk about that right after. Let me check. Yeah. Once you have installed Node.js, you restart the terminal. Very important. You have to restart it. So I can do that. I'm going to fully close it, reopen it. I'm going to zoom in a little like that. And I'm going to do node-v, node space -v. And now it's installed. Okay. You should have something, I mean, the version once you do that. I don't recommend using the very last version, this one, because they are testing some stuff. This one is more stable usually. So the LTS version. All right, cool. Once you have Node.js, you can close the terminal or maybe keep it. You will have to decide which terminal you want to use. You will see why. I'm going to close that terminal. You download the starter, which is right below the player you're watching right now. And you will get, I'm going to delete this one, a zip file with a different name than starter for you. You're going to unzip it and you're going to put it wherever you like to put your exercises. There is a bunch of lessons, so make sure you organize yourself properly. For me, it's in those folder. Those are all the lessons. Okay, I'm going to put it there and I'm going to, I'm going to rename it first. So it's going to be exercise. You don't have to name it like me. You name the files however you like to name your files. And it's this one here. All right, this is the starter that comes with this lesson. And most lessons, following lessons, will have a starter too. So you download it, you unzip it, and then we're going to do some stuff in there. Okay, we could use the terminal. Right now we need the terminal again. You can use the terminal that we've just used before, so it's up to your preferences. But since I'm using VS Code, and I recommend you to use VS Code, but maybe you're using something else, I don't mind. You can use whatever you want. Most today's code editor provides a terminal, an integrated terminal. And that's the case with VS Code. If I press Command G, it will open a terminal. Also, VS Code, you have a cool feature where you open a project inside of it. To do that, you just drag and drop the folder. See, that's the folder I want to open in VS Code. I just drag and drop it in VS Code. When you have this highlight, it means it's going to work. Be careful if you don't have the highlight, like see, right there, it's not working. I need to put it over there. I click, and now VS Code is open on that folder. And when I open the terminal, so Control J, Command J maybe on macOS. I'm not sure. For me, it's Control J, but maybe I messed up. So try. If you're on macOS, maybe it's Command J, maybe it's Control J. It will be inside that folder already, because yes, the terminal, it's like your Explorer, your file Explorer. Your file Explorer is inside the folder. So right now I'm inside the download folders. Right there, I'm inside the exercise folder. Okay, that's great. The terminal works just the same. So you need to make sure that the following instructions that we are going to put in the terminal, you execute them in the right folder. And you can see that usually it's at the beginning of this line here. It tells you that you are in the exercise folder. If you want to learn how to navigate in those folders, I can provide a few commands. By the way, if you use VS Code, the commands are the same between Windows and macOS. But if you use the command prompt for Windows or some alternatives, it depends on what you use, those commands won't work, which is why I recommend using the VS Code integrated terminal. If you want to check in what folder you are, because remember, it's very important, you are inside the exercise folder, the starter you've just downloaded. You can write pwd like that. I think it's path to working directory or something like that. And see that? That's the right path. I know I'm inside the right folder. So make sure of that before running any command. And if you want to move somewhere else, well, I can show you. You can do cd. So I think it's content directory, maybe. I can go up by doing point like that. And right now you see I'm inside the 4 folder. So it's this one here, meaning that I'm in there. So I want to go back in the exercise. I do cd exercise. I can do tab, and I'm inside the exercise folder. Nice. So make sure you are there. Also, you can do cd space. You have to add the space, and then you can drag and drop whatever folder. It works on Windows too. You can drop whatever folder you want. So I want the exercise folder, even though I'm already inside that folder. And it decided not to work because I'm already inside of it. So I would try starter, see? And now I press enter and I'm inside the starter file. And I can test that by running pwd. I'm inside the starter file. Okay, let's get back to the exercise folder. Like that, press enter, and it's working. Okay, great. You can also use ls if you want to list what's inside that folder, but we don't need this one. Yes, you're learning how to use the terminal. You thought you were here to learn Three.js and you learn a bunch of other things. Yeah, by the way, I put those instructions right here. All right, why do we need the terminal inside that folder that we have just downloaded? Inside the starter that we have just downloaded. It's because we need to install dependencies with that project. The dependencies, well, it's two things right now. It's Vite and Three.js. We need those. Okay, we need to develop a Three.js website. We decided to use Vite as the build tool, and we need to create some Three.js stuff. So we also need the Three.js dependency to install those. So from the terminal, I'm going to do a clear so that it's cleared. I'm going to run npm install like that, right? And you press enter. Make sure you are inside the right folder. Npm install, and you press enter. So you might think, how does it know? How does it knows how to what to install? I will explain to you, don't worry. And it will create those few files. So the package-log.json, I'm not going to explain this one, but also the node modules. And in the node modules folder, there is a bunch of things. And as you can see, there is Vite 3, which is Three.js, and a bunch of other things that have been installed by those dependencies that we need. I think most of them are just Vite that needs other dependencies, which are those ones here. And 3, it's just 3. It's not importing other dependencies. And this is a whole handle on its own, and that's great. When we installed Node.js, remember that we also installed npm, and that's exactly what we have been using right here. When we run npm, it's because we have npm installed on the computer. npm is a dependency manager that will fetch the dependencies listed in the package.json file. And I can show it to you. Check there. Package.json, which was already with the starter. I'm going to close this and this. This is the file in there. There are things in there. Okay, cool. But the most important part are those things here. The dependencies. There are dev dependencies and dependencies. I'm not going to talk about that, especially since for the web, it's not very important. But Vite will be installed with the project when we run npm install, and 3.2, which is Three.js. So that's how it works. When you want to add other things, we will do that later. We are going to add new dependencies when we are going to need, I don't know, like physics and post-processing and things like that. We will add more dependencies to that file using specific commands. You will see. So that's how npm knows what to install and what to put in that node module folders. And we will have access to those when we are going to create our website. Do not touch that folder, okay? Those are dependencies. Do not change anything in there, okay? I leave the node modules folders. Do not touch that folder. You're not supposed to change anything in there, or you did something wrong. All right. So that's great. We have the dependencies. We have the starter. It's time to run the server. Again, from the terminal, so I'm going to close the package.json. I just wanted to show it to you. I'm going to clear it again. Okay, great. You don't have to clear it. It's just so that everything is clean on my screen. After doing npm install, you need to do npm run dev. All right, npm run dev. Make sure you put the spaces at the right places, and then you press enter. You wait a little, well, not long, as you can see, and here is your website, soon to be a Three.js experience. All right, Three.js is not being used yet because we are going to do that together, but it's just a very simple page. But as you can see, it's running some HTML that looks like a HTML website, although it's very simple. There is just a text, But see that URL right here? It's not the usual path when you open a HTML file, because I can show it to you. Like if you open, let's say this file here, you don't have to do it, just watch my screen. If I open it, see, right now it's the same thing, but it has been opened by double clicking on it, which is the wrong way, which will break at some point. That's what I was explaining at the beginning. We won't be able to load models and do a bunch of things like that and access the Three.js other than the core classes. But right now, so I close this HTML I just opened, we have a local server running and we can access it with the URL that you can see right here. So localhost there. There are two URL. Yes, I have trouble saying URL. It's very hard for French people to say that. You have two URLs, so this one and this one. If you have an issue, both will do the same. This is the local IP on my network. If this one is not working, you can test the other one. You can command click on the other one, and I'm going to get the exact same result because both are working on my computer. So it's up to you. I put both visible here in case for some people one of them is not working. All right, great. So we have already the server running. So you might think it was a bit hard. No, it wasn't. You downloaded starter. You did npm install, npm run dev, and it's working, and it's quite fast actually. Troubleshooting. If you had an issue, let's see if we can fix it right now. If everything worked, yeah, by the way, if everything is working, you have the exact same thing as me, you can just skip this section, all right? Or you can stay with us or do whatever you like. Otherwise, here are the classic issues you might encounter. First, the terminal folder. I told you earlier, you have to run those commands. So npm install and npm run dev. Those commands, if you are not inside the right folder, it's not going to work. So make sure you are inside the right folder. You can do that by running pwd and test if this is the right folder. Okay, make sure of that. This is the folder where there is those files like vidconfig, readme, package.json, src, static. All right, you need those files in there. It's a classic mistake that we all do at the beginning, especially if you move the folder. Yeah, by the way, if you move a folder or rename a folder, your terminal might not have followed what you did. All right, so make sure you, when you move or rename a folder, that you open the terminal again inside that folder. A second issue, I think it's mostly for Windows. I never had this issue on Mac, is when the path is too long. Like you have folders inside folders, inside folders, inside folders, and it goes on and on like that. If it's too long, the path is too long, I know that sometimes, I don't know if it's Node.js or something else, well, it can break. All right, so move it up. Try to reduce the path as much as you can. Version folder, what do I mean by that? Be careful with tools like OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, etc. You know, it's those tools that will save your file on whatever cloud solution or whatever. Those are great if you want to save your files in case your computers die or go through the window or whatever. But sometimes those will mess up with Node.js, because see those Node modules? There is a lot of things in those, and there is a lot of things in those, and it goes on like that. It can be like quite a lot of files and nested files. And if Google Drive or OneDrive or whatever Dropbox is messing up with those files, like not fetching them or updating them properly, it won't work because you need those files. So my recommendation is to move the project outside of OneDrive, Google Drive, and Dropbox if possible. Okay, on Windows, I know that it's not that simple, but it's a rare case scenario where it's bugging, but I just had some student that had this issue, so maybe that's the issue. Don't break your computer. I had a student that tried to fix that and he broke everything. It was a mess. Special characters in the path. This is a classic one. See my path right here? Do you see a lot of special characters? So the slash are for, you know, it's inside the folder, it's fine. Underscore are fine. Okay, this one here is fine. Dashes are fine. Letters are fine. Numbers are fine. that's okay. But everything else, try to avoid it. Like if you had this inside your folder, like I don't know, you decided that exercise for some reasons, you put this, okay, or maybe some accents like that and spaces and tilde or whatever. Those might break your application. Those might break your Node.js. You need to avoid that from the beginning of your computer to the very end to the project folder. Okay, this is a classic issue that a lot of students are having. So make sure you only have letters, if possible lowercase, but that's not that important. Numbers, dashes, and underscores. You know the underscores, it's the below dash. I don't know how people like to name it, this one. Yeah, okay. On macOS, so if you're on Windows, don't worry about this one. When you run npm install and npm run dev, you might have a weird warning from VS Code about, Xcode command line 2, something like that. It's a bit weird. I never truly understood what was happening there. Most of the time, it's harmless. It's just a warning. Like macOS tells you, oh, you should install this. Okay, but for some students, I've seen that they needed to install this one. And actually, I think I had to do it on this computer. Maybe it was the harmless warning. I'm not sure. Anyway, if you get this one, so if it's blocking or you just want to get rid of that warning, I put an article. So check the links, bottom right, tab of this page you're watching right now. I put an article that explains everything you need to know, but the simplest version is you need to run this in the terminal, in whatever terminal. So you do xcode -select space -- install. Just as you press enter, it will just open like an installer, some Xcode command line 2, something like that. I have no idea what it is, but it's harmless, don't worry. And then you will get rid of the error or the warning and you will be fine. And it's only for macOS users. Another issue is with permissions. If you have everything working just nicely, you should not have permissions issues, but sometimes users are installing the project in very specific folder, and those folder might have permissions tweaks and issues, and npm won't be able to install things. So if you do npm install, it's creating a node modules folders, it's creating the package-lock.json, and it's doing things inside that folder, and it needs permissions to do that. And if the permissions inside that folder are messed up, it might not work. So if you know what you are doing, try to fix the permission. It's both for Windows and macOS, but usually permission issues are for macOS. You can do right click, you check the options, etc. If you don't know what you are doing, maybe just put it somewhere else. All right, try the exercise again, download the starter again, put it somewhere else in a brand new folder, and do the npm install, npm run dev, and you should be fine. If it's still not working, if you can't find the problem, go to the courses Discord server and share information you have. All right, it's the same thing I told you earlier. You go on that button here, and then you will be able to download to access the Discord server, and we will help you. Do not worry, obviously, we will help you. All right, cool. A bit more about Vite. So I know I said it's not a Vite lesson, but there are a few things to understand in order to use it properly. So first, I'm going to start the server again. npm run dev. That's the way of when you want to start coding, you do npm run dev. Okay, cool. The Vite configuration is set in the vite config.js. All right? Right here. This file here is the configuration I've decided for the project. Maybe it's different, don't worry, maybe I've updated the configuration, so my screen is different from what you see inside that folder. It doesn't matter, as long as it's working, doesn't matter. By the way, you don't need to provide such a configuration for Vite, but I wanted it to run in a very specific way, like opening inside when you do npm run dev, it opens the static folder, I mean the public folder, that's the name, so that it matches the previous version of the exercises where I was using Webpack, so that's the main reason. And so that's the configuration. I just wanted to tell you this is the configuration. By the way, the Vite website has a very good documentation right here. that will explain to you how to set a Vite project and all the configuration, and it's just great. I really like using Vite. So when you download the starter, you do npm install only once. It will install all the dependencies. I can do it again, doesn't matter. It will just think, okay, I already installed those, and it's fine. But you just do it once so that you fetch the dependencies. Great. But then the npm run dev, you do that every time you want to start coding. I do it. Okay, it's working. And now I will just let the terminal running like that. And I will start coding. I will go inside the file that I will show you, and I will start to do some Three.js, create a cool website with 3D textures, etc. And I just don't touch this terminal here. The server is running, it's fine. And I just code, and you will see that things will update on the website. Your terminal might seem stuck, but it means that the server is running. Okay, I can try to do stuff here. Nothing is happening. It's sending me some other like URL. I don't know what's happening. It's kind of stuck. Okay, it's just that the server is running. It's fine, and actually I can just hide it, Control J or Command J, and I can keep coding, and it's just fine. So it's not closing, by the way. When you do Control J or Command J, it's hiding the terminal, not closing the terminal. The server is still running. If you want to stop the server, you can do Control C. I think it's the same shortcut even for Windows. It's Control, not Command. Control C. See that? I'm going to go inside the terminal. Okay. Control C. And it left the server. And right now the server is not working anymore. On Windows, you might have to confirm it. So do Control C. I think you can just smash the Control C, and at some point it will leave it. Or I think it will prompt you with a question like, are you sure you want to leave? And you have to press like Y and enter. Anyway, it's slightly different on Windows. The only folders you need to explore are the src folder and the static folder. Okay, do not play with other files like those files here. You're not supposed to change those. The Vite configuration, you're not supposed to change it, and not the node modules. Don't touch that folder. In the src folder, there are the classic files, you know, like the HTML, JS, CSS. We are going to play with those when we create our Three.js application. And the static folder, it's kind of a weird one. It's where you put assets that will just be provided with the server. What do I mean by that? I will start the server again, do npm run dev. I want to show you this one. We will practice this one later. Do not worry, I will explain it again. I know it's a bit complicated, but we just like repeat things until you get it. Don't worry. See, I have the server running, so I did npm run dev. I have one file there that we will use it a bit later. So it's a door.jpg file. It's inside the static folder. How do I access this file? Well, that's the weird part, but useful part. I just put door.jpg like that, and I press enter. And this is the file, just a file. I accessed the file. And as you can see, I didn't have to put static there. All right, that's the important part. All files that are available inside that folder are just provided like if it was at the root of the website. This is where we are going to put the models, some Dracode decoder, you will see later, the textures, etc. We will just put those files that we just want to load inside that static folder. More about that later in the next lessons. Also, the page will automatically reload as you save those files. So we'll get back to the server. So it was this one here. Yeah, see, okay, it's working. And I'm going to hide the terminal. I'm going to open the index.html. I'm going to hide this. I can keep it open. Soon to be a cool Three.js experience. And I'm going to save and see that I didn't have to go on the page and reload. This is the kind of features that the build tool will provide you. Most build tool does that, but Vite just do it without doing anything. So that's great. While Webpack is a bit longer to configure it. Anyway, we change our code, we save, and it reloads automatically. I did it with the HTML, but it will work with the JavaScript and the CSS. Finally, you can access the local server from other devices on the same network. And it's useful to debug on mobile. If it's not working, it's usually because of your firewall, and it's usually for Windows users. I actually had this issue on my PC. I have both a Mac and a PC, and it was not working because the Windows firewall was blocking it. And I can show it to you. I'm going to open it like this. So I just open the browser. I will type. Be careful with what you type. You can't type localhost. You have to type, let me show you, this one here, all right? First, you make sure that your device is on the same network. Then you type, make sure you don't put the HTTPS, okay? It's without SSL, so without the S. And I just put this one here, this one here, this one here. Yeah, it's a bit long to write, especially because it's changing once in a while depending on your configuration. So I'm not sure you're going to see it properly, but as you can see, soon to be a cool Three.js experience. And if I do some changes, I'm going to remove the cool. It's going to update on my computer, and it should update right here. Yeah, it worked. So that's great if you want to debug on other devices, like, I don't know, you have multiple computers, tablets, smartphones, etc. And Three.js will work just the same, and you will be able to debug your application on mobile. Very important to always test on mobile. It's easier to develop on desktop, but most users are using mobiles these days, so you need to make sure it's working on mobile. Okay, that's great. I was talking, you're here to learn Three.js, and we have been talking like for maybe 40 minutes about Vite and Webpack and configuration, but we want Three.js back. So how are we going to do that? We can just do what we did in the previous lesson. So I'm going to hide the terminal, not close, just hide the terminal like this. And in there, I'm going to replace that text. We don't want that text, we want a canvas. So I'm going to create a canvas like this. And I'm going to add a class WebGL, which is exactly what we did in the previous lesson. We see that almost everything works just the same, like that. Okay, so now there is a canvas. I'm going to open the console. By the way, always keep your console open. That's very important because when you do a mistake, it will be written here. And I'm going to check, yes, my canvas is right here, okay? If I check in elements, the canvas, it's right here. Okay, great. Next, we want to add some JavaScript, okay? So we are going to open the JavaScript file, so this one here. And in there, we're going to put kind of the same thing as before. But the difference is that we need to import Three.js. In the previous lesson, we imported Three.js using a script. But right now, it's not the same way of doing it because we are using Vite. We have support of what we call modules. We're going to load it automatically from the node modules, all right, from this thing here. And doing that will give us access to a lot more than what we had in the previous lesson. Okay, so how do we import it? First, you open script.js, and in there, you're going to do import all, it's the star, as 3. Be careful you put like uppercase and lowercase at the right places, from 3, all right? Make sure you have the exact same thing as me. Import everything as 3, so it's going to create a 3 variable and put everything there is from that library, that dependency, which is this one here, okay? What do we get in there? Well, you can test. I can do console.log3 like this and check the results. Go inside the console. You get access to that thing here, and there are all the core classes available in there. So that's a lot of classes. We have access to all of those just the same way that we did in the previous lesson. But by doing that, we will have access to more. We are not going to access those more classes right now. We will do it in later lessons because we need to do that. But right now, we kind of had the exact same result as we had before, but now we are using Vite, a local server, etc. Okay, nice. Next, we need to add the same code as before because that's it. We have the 3 variable like in the previous lesson. We need to add the rest like const, scene, new, 3 scene, etc. I'm going to be lazy and just copy everything. You can just take it from the previous lesson, or you can scroll down on this same page, scroll down at the very bottom, and you will have the text version, and you will be able to copy that one here. It's at the very end. Okay, I'm going to save and check that it's back. We have our cube back. So we have a lot more to see, I know, but right now we have the exact same thing as before, but running with a local server using Vite. Yeah, by the way, as you can see, I didn't have to do a reload. It's doing it on its own. You don't have to reload the page. It's doing it automatically. If it was a bit complex, like, I don't know, like I have to download the starter, do npm install, npm run dev. Oh no, it was npm run install. Oh no, I might have some bugs. Oh, I need to be inside the right folder. Do not worry, in the next lesson, we will do it again together. So it will be much faster because now we know how everything is working. We just download the starter, put the terminal inside the right folder, npm install, npm run dev, and we can start coding. Okay, so don't worry, we will do it together in the next lesson. One last warning about that. Most of the following lessons have been recorded using Webpack. All right, the previous lesson of the previous versions of 30th Journey, so the exercises, was running using Webpack. Right now we switch to Vite, but there is almost no difference. You can just continue and we have less bug. It will be faster. The developer experience is much better. So it should be fine, but be careful. Sometimes you will see some slight differences on my screen, like see that Vite config file. You won't see this one in most of the following lessons. And that's all. You will be fine. Don't worry. And if you have any issue, just join the Discord server and we will help you. And I will see you in the next lesson.